my last video where I discussed the Canon Canonet 28, or the new Canon Canonet 28, I used it for mainly candid photography and street photography and sort of everyday things. I did have some issues with light leaks, which since then I've actually fixed. It's a fairly easy fix, just to replace those light seals. What I didn't really speak about is how one can use this camera for flash photography if you don't have a battery. Now, if you don't have a battery with this camera, then it'll default to shooting at a 30th of a second. So you will need to set your aperture setting, but the camera will shoot as if it's a 30th of a second, and so if you're shooting outside, that could be a real problem. You're going to end up with a bunch of overexposures, most likely. So in order to use this camera with your studio flashes, if that's how you want to use it, or external flash, you're going to need to have a flash trigger. In my case, I use the Godox XT16. Now this is a brand independent trigger. With other words, you can use it on any camera that has a hot shoe. So you can tell by the fact that it only has one little connector there, or what do you call it, contact point. And if you use a brand specific flash trigger, it simply won't fire. But this will work on this little camera, which is quite cool. Since I'm shooting in studio, shooting at a 30th of a second is not a problem. It's quite dark in here. I don't have to worry about any sort of motion blur or anything like that. And I'm going to be using my studio flashes. So I have my daughter, and she's just going to come and stand in for some quick portraits. And yeah, let's see how it works. The film I'm using today is Kodak Colorplus 200. Fairly cheap, run-of-the-mill film. But this is a fairly cheap run-of-the-mill camera. So let's see if they marry well. Okay, so that was fun. Like I thought, it feels a bit awkward with the rangefinder to be this close, so I hope my framing was right and that I interpreted the parallax lines properly. Let's first take the trigger off. There we go. Let's roll up this film and just remember to press the rewind button, otherwise I'll tear the sprockets. There we go. And rewind, 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 rewind. And I'm actually really curious to see what this is gonna look like. So there we go, Kodak Color 200. I'm gonna take it into the lab now and let's see what we get. Okay, not every day that I can get same-day service from my lab, but I did today and that's awesome. Anyways, having a quick look at the images, first concerns would have been my composition, it being a rangefinder, and then also focus. Both those fronts I am very happy. The images are sharp and the composition is great. It worked well. I was shooting slightly over a meter away or under a meter away, and I think the fact that it's a smaller camera also is less imposing to the model. With the big trigger on top, it encumbers the camera a little bit, but it was still very easy to shoot. Side note, I'm actually quite impressed with the tones I was getting from the Colorplus. Really like how it's handling the highlights. Yeah, so looking at these images, I am actually quite pleased. I really like most of the images, but if I had to pick a quick favorite, I really do like this image. I suppose it's the expression, but I like the crop and just everything about it works for me. Anyways, back to the studio. So apart from studio shooting, another instance where I used my Canon Canonet was with some Fuji Acros black and white film. Straight off the bat, my two favorite shots from the roll. They actually work really nice as a diptych, I would imagine, if I was to frame it up or print it like that. Then
40mm f2.8 is like an optimal street configuration, I think, or urban photography configuration. And the Fuji Acros, in my mind, is actually not too bad. I actually quite like it. It's got a very good spread of tones, holds on to highlights, it holds on to the shadows. So it's definitely a good modern film, maybe less charactered than an HP5, but I'm actually quite pleased with it.
So that concludes my little experiment. Do you think it was worth it? Is it something you would do? I think it's definitely worth a try. I liked it. I'll put down some affiliate links down in the description, so just in case you might want to buy your own Canon Canonet, or you want to buy a Kodak Color 200, there'll be links for those and also the gear that I use in studio here. If you haven't done so already, please like this video, please subscribe, and if you have tried the Canon R28, please comment below. I love hearing from you guys. But till the next video, cheerio.